morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to this mini lecture on posture. I hope it's a very good day for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about basically a couple things here. First is, why is good posture important? Two, why are muscles so important for maintaining good posture? The first reason for having good posture, which is often overlooked in physical therapy and personal training, but probably physical therapy even more so, is it's more attractive to have good posture. Most people just talk about how healthy it is and why it's good for your back or whatnot, but it's more attractive to have good posture. So I think that's a very important reason why we need to focus on posture. The second reason, and probably more important reason, is that it provides less stress on the joints. Remember, posture is all about alignment. Posture, oftentimes you think about it in the back or in the hips, but it's all the way throughout the body, down to the fingers, down to the toes. And so it provides less stress on the joints. So an example is in the back. It's a classic one, but it's also a very important one. In the back we have two main components I'm going to talk about. One is discs, the hard things, or the soft things. Two is bones, the hard things. The discs, the cushion the bones, that way the bones aren't hitting each other and wearing away at each other. That would hurt a lot. That's why when we start to have degenerating discs, it starts to hurt because our body's warning us that if the bones hit, that's going to hurt. So what we have is we have those discs that cushion between the bones, and different positions put those discs in more compressed. So for instance, we all hear, lift with your legs, don't lift with your back. The problem is that when we bend over, so if these are my hips and I bend over, my discs are pretty strained. If I twist along with that, they're going to be strained even more, and if you're lifting anything very heavy, there's a good chance you're going to herniate your disc. That's where the cushions pop out a little bit. They say, well, that was too much, it torqued it, and it herniates a little bit, and that's not a good thing. And so what we want to do is, since good posture puts less stress on the joints, we have to make sure that we're in correct posture. Now in this mini lecture I'm not going to go over exactly where all the alignment things need to be, but more importantly in this lecture is why it's important. Because the problem is, if a lot of times you're like, well, if I'm not, if I'm lifting with my legs in general, but if you in general are a little bit bent over, or a little bit twisted, or both, you're going to have more stress on those discs. And while you won't herniate it right away, those discs with more compression on them, they'll start to degenerate a little bit, and that's something we definitely want to avoid. So that's statically. We also want to look at it dynamically. If we look at it dynamically, a lot of times we just, we can stand somebody there, we can look at their posture, but if we're looking at them while they move, it's also very important to make sure we have good alignment to prevent injury. One classic example of this is female who have ACL injuries in non-contact sports. A lot of times what we see is, if these are their femur bones, their leg bones, the knees buckle in and turn in, the legs do. And so that's called adducting and internally rotating. And once you get in that position, the ACL is trying to keep the knee where it should be, but it can't, so it tears the muscles of the hip and the ankle. Remember, the knee just connects the hip and the ankle. Those are what need to be stabilized so the knee can stay in the correct spot. If they don't do their job, then we're going to end up with tears if there's high enough impact. So there's not a lot we can do, or not near as much we can do about contact sports. If somebody gets hit in the knee pretty hard, doesn't matter how strong their hips or their ankles are, it's a good chance it's going to tear their ACL. So why are muscles important? Well, first we need to find the two types of muscles, at least in this sense that I'm going to talk about, that there are. We have local muscles and we have global muscles. Global muscles are the sexy ones that we work at the gym normally. When you go there, you see people doing their exercises. The reason being is that those are the big muscles, the ones that show, and the second is they're the big muscles that make us more tired, so they burn more calories. But the local ones are the ones that improve our posture. They normally are a lot smaller and shorter, and if we look at the back, we have a transversospinalis groups, and that's a technical way of saying the small muscles that cover 1 to 3 spinal segments. So they go, maybe just from one vertebrae to the next, or down a couple. But what those do is they keep us aligned. They're not the ones that are going to move us someplace or make sure that we, go from bending over to standing up. They're the ones that need to engage before we move to keep us in good posture. And so those are a lot of what we need to do for those. It's broader depth than I want to go to in this mini lecture, but we have to have correct motor learning, or there has to be correct motor control of those muscles. So that's posture. We have to remember that it's important to have. Why it's important: one, it's attractive; two, it provides less stress on the joints, and the muscles are very key for that, particularly our local muscles. If you have more questions or would like to know more about posture, please don't hesitate to contact us. Have a great rest of your day.